Hi, I'm Lee Barker from the 1st Airborne Reconnaissance Sea Troop reenactment group. So I talk about the Jeep that we used in Arnhem on the day. It is a normal Jeep but modified for the Airborne mod. The Reconnaissance did a few more mods than the normal mods. Start off, obviously the wheel you can see is on the front of the Jeep. That was put there solely to protect the radiator from bullets and shrapnel. Then it came with more radio. This is fitted with a 19 set, it would have been a 20 or 62 set. So you've got the battery boxes on the front, on the wings. The ammo boxes on the front were normally red boxes, but when they went out, they collected more ammunition and brought it back. It's also fitted with a K Vickers 303 machine gun. This was to get a bit more firepower on the way in to Arnhem itself. Could be taken off and used in the ground roll and legs, but mainly stay with the Jeep.
Yeah, there's a good example, isn't there? We're talking earlier about the film. There's the glory where Goff actually
you get ambushed,
takes it off.
Take the gun with the legs on this. Obviously, I ain't got the legs on.
Yeah.
It is a Denix, so a copy of it, not a real one. Also, then it was fitted with a Bren gun to hold that for more firepower, because the reconnaissance loved the Bren gun, a bit more firepower and better for sniping.
Yeah. No, I trained on the Bren. I have a lot of liking for it.
Yeah, I do. So, right, number 4 for the driver. Sometimes he had a Sten. Number 5 you can see up there. So they had. Then obviously from further back, the jerry cans in between the seats, the radio, basket on the back would have been picked up after the drop. Because they went in the gliders, it had to be a certain weight for the glider. So when they got it out, because there'd been a resupply, they will pick up what they could before bombing off.
Yeah.
The reason it's a bit more different than just a standard Jeep is they needed to put the kit in and versatile. Obviously, yeah, the SES did their own versions,
yeah,
and the Airborne obviously did theirs. A lot of other units didn't really do a lot with the Jeep, they just used them as mobility and just powered them in on what they had on the Jeep.
Yeah.
This also, the modifier on the bumper was for towing, where sometimes you had 2 Jeeps with another mod to tow a gun if it was heavier.
Yeah.
Or recovery. Basically, that is roughly what they did to them. Sometimes they took the seats out and did other things when talking to veterans. But for safety reasons, this one's got these seated when driving on the road and stuff like that.
I think it's one of those things, isn't it? You give anything to a squaddie, they will modify it.
Yeah, a squaddie will try and fit anything he can on there. If he can get his bacon on there, he'll get his bacon in there, you know, and cooker.
Yeah.
They've got everything on there that they could. Obviously, this would be around about 4 or 5 men on this Jeep.
Yeah.
They're hanging on or whatever. Obviously, we see troop the ones in the ambush. Sadly, obviously, losing the lads. But, again, we covered the Jeep if we could afterwards or after the battle thing, but again, a lot of them were.
And you were telling me a fascinating thing. I think it was you or your colleague was telling me about Bucknell's Jeep, where we see it with the wheels missing.
Yes, right, on the second ambush, the famous photo of the Recce Jeep, where it's sitting there with no wheels and whatever. The Germans, because that was on its side originally, the Germans would take the spare wheels if a Jeep didn't work. So if they got a puncture, they just threw the wheel, put the wheel on and make it a quick change instead of messing around with tubes and whatever.
Yeah.
And I only found, it bugged me a bit on it, is that I found a photo with the Germans towing their gun full of wheels in the back, believe it or not. It makes more sense.
It does. I'd always wondered what had happened, why the wheels were missing.
Yeah, and that's what it's for. The Germans took them. If they couldn't get it started, they took whatever they needed off the knackered and put it in with them.
That's a lovely bit of information. That's the sort of history that fascinates me.
Yes, it is. Like I say, until you start digging into anything, you know, when you look at it and think, bang, why?
Yeah.
It is. I mean, you see a lot of photos of the Jeeps in Arnhem with no wheels.
Yeah.
And it was the Germans taking them.
Well, they were using them quite extensively, weren't they, by the end of the battle?
By the end of the battle, what the Germans would do, they would take a house where the lads were in, and they would run out the back to see if the Jeeps were there and see if they get them. And even try and trick the lads, thinking it's them coming in, the lads coming with Jeeps, and it was Germans in them. And that's how they did. And all they did was paint out the stars,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Like I said, that's the lovely bits of history that don't make it into the main books, isn't it?
No, it doesn't. I think it is in one book, and that, but it makes more sense what they did. We used to use their equipment.
Yeah.
You know, the Vukang and whatever we could, as well as that. Like that's where you get photos. The lads using, you know, German weapons and stuff like that.
There's quite a few photos of Arnhem where they have got German weapons.
Yeah, obviously the ammo was getting short.
Yeah.
So obviously, when they ran out, they thought, well, pick the German up and use that. And the Germans did the same because there's actual photos of the Germans with a Bengal.
Yeah.
Using them.
Yeah.
And the Germans didn't like P40s because couldn't lay down.
Yeah.
So they went for the Sten. They loved them.
Yeah.
And yet it's the same ammo.
I know it's.
So you would pick up, because we want to get in the research, they pick anything up to use to fight. Yeah. And obviously the Germans have got their ammo there. You're going to take theirs.
Yeah. You see, my theory is that you would tend to pick up the other side's weapons because it looks Gucci.
Well, looks Gucci, but again, it had a second chance where people they lost their weapon.
Yeah.
Because obviously lads were getting taken prisoner, and then next minute they were able to escape. So also they got nothing. So picking up a German's weapon to use to fight is another way because they didn't get theirs.
Well, even Hackett ends up with a Car 98K at one point.
That's right. Yeah.
When he's breaking out of the hollow.
Yeah, it's unreal what they did.
Yeah.
But again, that's war. You use whatever. Even today, you still get trained on foreign weapons.
Yeah.
So you could use them if need be.
Yeah. Well, that's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much for your
No
time.
problem at all.